Welcome to another episode of A Bad Idea of a Podcast. Today we have, I wouldn't say a special guest, I will say a unique guest. He is the only Mexican player to play in the ELF currently. And to keep up with the tradition, I'm going to do a proper introduction for A Bad Idea of a Podcast. Okay, so it's time to welcome one of the best Mexican defensive backs in Europe. He is one-time champion with the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns. He is a front runner with the Stuttgart Surge, coming out of Mexico City, weighing 80 kilos. He is Diego Cárdenas. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate the lively introduction.
I know. Thanks, man. First of all, thank you to join Bad Idea for Podcast. It's truly an honor to have the only Mexican that is playing currently in the ELF. And I want to know more about your history, because how do you come to play in Germany? Because all of a sudden you were checking the rosters and said, okay, one Mexican is going to play for the championship this year, or actually play for the championship this year. But how was your road to come to Germany?
Well, funny enough, I was just on a regular school in Mexico. I don't know if you've heard of it, just Colegio Vista Hermosa. My parents had gone there, so I was there with my sisters. And then after the 6th grade, I was just not feeling too happy anymore. And I had a couple of friends from that I knew from outside that always talked great about the German school. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I somehow always liked Germany. I always found myself rooting for them at World Cups and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? Mom, I want to go to the German school.
Yeah.
So they were surprised. They're like, okay, let's just do the test and see it from there. So I took the test to apply to the school, and then I eventually got in. So a couple of years later, my parents wanted me to do a year abroad. I wanted to go to the United States to play football there, but since I already played football in Mexico as a kid, and then my mom and my dad were like, no, I mean, you just switched to this German school, you're learning German, it makes sense for
you need to stick in Germany.
Yeah, it makes sense for you to go to Germany, like solidify your German. And I was like, oh man, okay, but I want to be able to play football. I want to be able to play football when I get there. So we Googled, and it wasn't easy. Like if you're searching with no base at all, like there's not a lot of advertisement to play football in Germany.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, with what I know now, then I could definitely tell them, oh, you can go look for this franchises and this, but it doesn't work the same as in the States, where you have schools that have football, which is kind of what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So we just came across the Unicorns Academy in Schwäbisch Hall. That's how I ended up there, from all places. Nobody in Mexico had any idea where that even is.
Yeah, probably.
Not even my German teachers. Like there were some teachers in the school that were German. They're like, Schwäbisch Hall, like, well, Michelbach, because that's where the internat is.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. So it's just like a small town in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. But yeah, then we just Googled it, looked at the website. It seemed legit. And we just decided to go there. Was originally planned to just be 1 year. Then COVID happened. So it was kind of like after a couple of months, everybody was forced to go back home. And I just stayed there with a couple of Chinese kids who also didn't have anywhere else to go. And then we decided to make it another year. So I stayed another year, played there. And then it was the decision. My family was moving to Canada. Either I stay here 1 more year, get the Abitur so I can go to college in Germany for free, or I would move to Canada with my family, where I would have to repeat a year of high school in order to get the IB, which is like international bachelor. And then we were like, maybe it's worth the investment to not repeat and just stay here, get the Abitur, and then we continue with the plan of you just going to college in Germany.
Now you play for the Stuttgart Surge, right? And you played in a championship game, and you decided to go there and play professional. And how you say, okay, you know what? I can bring this to this team to make him win some games.
Well, going in, I don't think it's the same. Like it was the atmosphere of a losing team, because I mean, Coach Jordan and Coach Brenner, Coach Pastorino, they had a perfect record in the GFL. I think they lost I don't think they lost any games that were not German Bowls, and they won more often than not. So they brought a lot of players in from Schwäbisch Hall, myself included. So I would say that it was just a winning culture already there from the start. From the very beginning, we all felt that we would do something in this league. Like the goal was to win it. We never thought, oh, Stuttgart Surge, they've been terrible this past few years. Like, I don't know. It was just never, because we weren't there, and I knew a couple of the guys, and I won a championship with them. So all I knew was, these guys know how to win. We're here to win it.
When we start watching the season of the Stuttgart Surge and we see them winning and winning and winning, where everyone was like, wait. So this team is the same team like last year, because last year they didn't win anything, and this year, I mean, they're winning after winning. So it's what's happened. What does Coach Newman do to change the mentality and change the team itself?
Well, I would say that there's always a standard at practice that needs to be upheld. Like, they expect you to do things well, and so you're just there and everybody's giving it their all. It's not like half-assing at practice. You're trying to earn your spot on the roster. You're playing against some really good football players, and there's just nobody wants to mess up. Like, there's no room for just slacking off at practice, because that's not the type of atmosphere they want. So if you're slacking off at practice, you become a distraction. I don't think they would keep you on the team a lot, for very long. So it's just that really high standard, keeping things strict, and the players trust them, because like I said, the guy's done nothing but win in the GFL. So I mean, players want to win. That's the norm. So if you bring in a guy like him who's won in Europe everything that he could have won, then you just trust him. There's this trust, and there's this, okay, we're just going to do things his way.
And Diego, what was the most difficult thing for you to adapt from the GFL to the ELF?
Well, I will say it was a very new experience for me, because I came straight from the juniors. I only really practiced for the last game of the season, I think it was, and the playoffs. So I only played one game, and after that I was just really on practice and just sort of getting to I don't know, just feeling the difference between juniors and seniors. And my first take is, you go from being one of the best players on the juniors, where you're always playing and you're making a difference, making plays, to just really being the new person there who is nobody knows, who has everything to prove. So you just sort of accept your role, take a step back, just learn, grow as a player, watch all these guys who have done this for a long time, and they've done it, like I said, at an excellent level, and just sort of keep an open mind and learn. I learned a lot from Coach Pastorino, who coached me in academy, and he played safety, and unfortunately had an injury there, so he was sort of serving as a kind of a coach along with Coach Jerry Yeager. So I mean, I will say I was just a lot more technique, everything more precise. I'll just have to understand everything. It's not like the juniors, where you would just sometimes be like, hey, what do we have to do this here and then you just sort of know what you're doing, and you don't care much about the rest. Here you really have to understand the system. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing, knowing where your help is, where everything is. And that's just sort of what they keep telling you, these coaches, and just perfect your technique on everything. understand why you're doing what you're doing, and just do it to the best of your ability.
And for example, I mean, of course, the difference also, also the thing that you mentioned, but not only like the level and the things that you need to get focused on and to practice on, but also probably like the players itself, because you face players from Switzerland, from Italy, from Spain. How was that experience for you?
Well, I will say it's definitely interesting to see how football is just from all over the world. I mean, you wouldn't expect to have these guys from France that are playing football, and they're all playing it at a really high level, you know, like competing with the best of teams. I don't know, I guess I cannot really tell you too much. It's just like you get a different feel. Like walking into a field with grown men is much different than going over there and you have like some kids that are just like 16 and they're just started playing. Like you feel that it's a much more serious, and just, I mean, guys do this for a living. They bring in American imports that have played Division I college. They've gone to and they've been to NFL teams. It just feels much larger. Yes,
and also for you, what was the most rewarding thing to play this season with the Stuttgart Surge?
The most rewarding thing, I would say, is I met a lot of really good friends. I love the team that was there. The coaches always told us that they were looking to bring in a certain kind of people that would fit what they were trying to just like induce in this team. Having no one that's selfish or just like a locker room cancer, how they call them. Just everybody there was just like a family, and especially even closer as the defensive backs. I mean, I'm happy to call most every single one of these guys that I played with, corner and safety, like my friends, and it just gives you a really nice feel of just even at a high level, still just playing football, doing what you love with your friends. And as far as what I can bring to the team, I mean, this year I was more on as a rookie, as the youngest player on the team, and I was just there mostly to practice. I mean, make the most of the opportunities that I got, but I knew I'm not on a lead role yet. And I just hope I can continue to grow, continue to increase my role, just learn from my teammates, learn from my coaches, and just do the best that I can whenever my number is called upon.
And speaking of that, how do you see yourself in 3 years or in 5 years?
Well, I would say the goal is definitely to become a starter, and one of the best defense players on the league. I have the personal goals to just play at the highest level that I can for as long as I can, achieve, I don't know, whatever, maybe get to the CFL, XFL, I mean, hopefully NFL, but just not getting too ahead of ourselves, just always doing what I can year in, year out, learning, and just, just playing the best that I can, doing what I know outside of the field, just staying consistent and see how far I can go.
And for example, Diego, does any of your friends from Mexico call you when they saw you on the ELF? They say like, "Hey man, you're playing professional football there." No one called you from Mexico?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I still have a contact with a lot of my friends. Play fantasy football with some of my ex-teammates from when we were kids. Some of my coaches back then, I mean, they were in college when I met them. One of them is playing. Well, there's many of them playing in the Mexican league right now professionally. So they're just asking me like, "Oh man, congratulations! How's it like there?" It's just like out of curiosity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say they're definitely interested, and I'm happy to have them support me and just follow, even if it's just through social media, what I'm doing here, other side of the world.
Just put that in your mind. What if in the near future we have a championship game with the champion from the ELF, the champion from the CFL, the champion from the Mexican League, the the LFA, and probably the XFL or the Japan League. Can you imagine that?
I think it would definitely be cool. I mean, I don't know, it would just have to be business, right? If the people are interested,
yeah,
and people would come and watch the game, then I don't see why it couldn't happen. Just have to get all the leagues on board. Definitely be interesting.
In my head, I think that the Mexican League and the ELF have like the same type of level, the competitive level. But I think here in Germany it's more complicated because, of course, the size of the players and the speed of the players is, of course, way better than in Mexico. But for you, what was the yeah, because I mean your height is 180, which is pretty cool for a defensive back, and you weigh 80 kilos, so I think it's really good. But here you can see a lot of players like above 190 or probably 2 meters, so it's the difference are like obvious, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always felt a little bit smaller when since I came to Germany, right? I mean, you always hear it in Mexico, like, oh man, everybody over there is so tall, like really huge. And I will say, I definitely sometimes I just look and I'm like, okay, they're definitely bigger than in Mexico, yourself, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it happens. I don't know what the average height in Mexico is, but
I mean, I will say it depends. It depends because when I used to play American football in Mexico, I was one of the taller guys in my team, but I don't like probably 170, something like that. But yeah, I'm a little bit old, so it's different. Probably different now. But so Diego, now we're coming to the last part of the podcast, and you know the podcast name is A Bad Idea for Podcast. So for the last 2 minutes, can you share with us a bad idea that in the end turned out to be a good idea for you?
Okay, let's think. Well, I always like to tell this, like, I never knew how I would come to Germany, right? Like, it's always, whenever I look back, I'm like, man, what caused me to be here? It's such, I don't know, it's such weirdness because nobody in my family's ever spoken German or been in Germany before, so it's just very random. And I always like to look back at, I just had a fight with a friend of mine in school back in the 6th grade that sort of like set off my, I was already a little bit unhappy at that school, but that was like the turning point. I was like, you know what? I fought with my best friend. I'm sick of this. I'll switch schools. And just because of that little incident, I switched schools. Went to the German school for sometimes a couple of years. Then came to Germany, learned German, and then next thing you know, I'm playing here in the ELF. It's just, I mean, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was a bad idea to fight with your best friend, of course, but it was a really good idea to come to play for the ELF. And also because now you have the opportunity to be in one of the best teams, like with the best future coming forward, right?
Definitely, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where my future leads me, where the league goes, and it's cool.
And I mean, I want to ask you this, like probably like the final question. For you, which team right now is the one that you're more excited to face next year? Because I mean, you have the conference and all of that, but if it was for you, which team you're more excited to face?
Well, even since this year, I'm always excited to face Munich because I have a friend there that I played with in all throughout the juniors in Schwäbisch Hall, and even he was also invited to play with us the remainder of the 2022 season with the seniors. Just a good friend of mine, Rashid Ali Takba, he plays for Munich, so, and he recently switched to running back, so there's just, I mean, I'm always the most excited to play against him, always trash talking. Yeah. So that's definitely the best one for me. I mean, obviously Rhein Fire, the rematch, they won the championship, but on a personal level, I would say that's Munich. That's the one I look forward the most.
I mean, and also you can trash talk in Spanish. I mean, you can trash talk in Spanish, English, German. So you have for all the league, right?
That's true. I mean, I'll pick it. I like when I trash talk, I want my opponent to understand me. So I'll only bring the Spanish trash talk against people that can understand me. Maybe Barcelona or Madrid.
And Madrid, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see that, right?
I think so. Yeah. I hope they're on a good level. I mean, I don't know how many players play in Spain that they have to divide now, but I love Madrid. And my family lives in Spain now, so it's definitely.
Oh, I mean, that will be a great opportunity if you have the chance to go with Stuttgart to play in Madrid. It's gonna be be an amazing, right?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just having all my family just come watch. That would be great.
So, Diego, this is actually the last one. Okay, how many games are gonna win Stuttgart next year?
The goal is all of them.
Okay,
all of them.
And are you gonna win the championship next year?
I would consider everything other than that just
all the way
not successful.
Okay,
it's not successful.
Awesome. I like that attitude, man. I really thank you for your time. I know it's a bit late for you, and you're in school, so thank you so much for your time. I really wish you good luck for next year, and also for your future, not only here in Germany, but also in Europe or like in your professional career. I wish you the best, and thank you so much, Diego.
No worries, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.